Okay, so next is dorsal view, third ventricle. This is important. Third ventricle, it was derived from, okay, so third ventricle was, thalamus was coming from where? Diencephalon. Okay, hypothalamus, diencephalon, optic stalk, diencephalon, and all of that, it was in contact with the third ventricle. Okay, because we had lateral ventricle. Lateral ventricle was all prosencephalon, and then we had this diencephalon, dien. It is in the previous videos. Next is third ventricle, pineal gland. Okay, just below the third ventricle is pineal gland, that is melatonin secretes circadian rhythm. Which nucleus? Which nucleus of the hypothalamus? This was in the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Okay. Next is superior colliculi. Superior colliculi directs the superior collicular eye movement. Okay, stimuli, vestibulo-ocular reflex. Okay, there is the eye movement to the object of I don't know exactly whether it's vestibulo-ocular reflex or not, but then superior colliculi eye and inferior colliculi is auditory. Okay, auditory and eye always go together, like the lateral and medial lemniscus. Medial lemniscus was auditory, while lateral lemniscus, lemniscus, I'm saying medial and lateral nuclei. Okay, so this is done. Next is superior colliculus, tectal plate, tectum and corpora quadrigemina. So red nucleus is present in superior colliculus. Red nucleus is present in superior colliculus. Even third nerve is present in superior colliculus, while fourth nerve is at the level of the inferior colliculus. Okay, corpora quadrigemina. This is neat stuff. Okay. Next is superior cerebellar. Okay, inferior cerebellar peduncle. Recollect from cerebellum. This was ipsilateral, inferior cerebellar peduncle, while middle cerebellar peduncle came from the contralateral. So pons, okay, so basically midbrain, pons and medulla, just three, niche, like one after the other. So this is done. Okay, and obviously anterior wall, and that facial colliculus thing is very important. So I think, we can mark it here, but I myself I forgot. I think laterally this was the facial colliculus and this is the hypoglossal triangle, and this small one was 10th nerve, but we have to see it again in anatomy. Okay, so that is important. Now this one. Okay, so the nerve supply and how this is important for the brainstem syndromes. Okay, so brainstem syndrome is extremely important for the brainstem syndromes. Okay, so first what we can do is we'll just make sure that what exactly. Okay, so first what was there. Okay, so M, everything with M is going to be medial, and multiples of 3, that is 3, 4, 6, 12, that is going to be cranial nerve 3, 4, 6, 12 medially. Okay, so cranial nerve 3, 4, 6, 12, that's going to be medially, and everything that is lateral, medial or longitudinal fasciculus, and medial longitudinal fasciculus is also medially, and medial lemniscus is also medially, while laterally you have what was lateral? Spinothalamic tract, spinocerebellar tract, and the Horner syndrome, you're sympathetic. Yeah, spinocerebellar, inferior, middle, superior. Basically, it's the cerebellar peduncles and then spinothalamic. Okay, next 3 and 4. 3 and 4 is main. Okay, now this. Here we had the blood supply, vertebral artery joining to form the basilar artery. Vertebral artery gives out the pica. Okay, so pica, ica, and then SCA. So नीचे से if we wait a second. Okay, yeah, this is fine. Okay, so this is medial. Okay, this part is going to be medial. Alright, this particular, like I'm not talking about these branches are all lateral. Okay, but this particular part, like vertebral artery, basilar artery, and then basilar artery splitting to form the posterior cerebral artery, that is posterior cerebral artery, that is what, that is this thing. Okay, PCA. Now what happens is midbrain. Okay, So midbrain में we are going midbrain, pons and medulla. Okay, so ICA is coming out from the basilar artery, so that's why this is going to be pons. Okay, so we have PCA. PCA is going to be is going to supply the upper part of the medial part of the midbrain. So medial part of the midbrain, since it's supplying, that means it's supplying the M structures. Okay, third, fourth, and medial longitudinal fasciculus, medial lemniscus, and motor pathway, that is corticospinal tract. Okay, so that is the main PCA supplying the medial part, okay, of midbrain. Okay, next is pons is the basilar artery. Okay, we all have seen that basilar artery going at the midsection of the pons, and finally medulla medial side is going to be vertebral artery. Okay, and this anterior spinal artery. Okay, which basically comes from each vertebral artery, and then it joins to form that anterior spinal artery. So that is done, and laterally we have the branches. Okay, so superior cere this wait superior so cerebellar arteries, when we classify cerebellar arteries, we have three. Superior cerebellar artery is only single, but inferior cerebellar artery is two types, anterior and posterior. So superior cerebellar artery is one, but inferior cerebellar artery is divided into two. That is anterior inferior cerebellar artery and posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Okay. So first is superior cerebellar artery and PCA. Superior cerebellar artery is a branch of this, so that's why lateral midbrain is going to be this. Okay, and next is ICA, that is pons. So that laterally also is going to be that, and pica is going to be laterally, we're going to have that. So 5 7 8 9 10 11, and this side 3 4 6 and 12. All right, so this is done. Now what are the syndromes? Okay, so brainstem syndromes. First we had the superior colliculus, red nucleus, all this is fine. Okay, lower pons. Okay, so lower pons we have ICA. Okay, facial droop will be seen in ICA, seventh nerve. Okay, and 5 is everywhere. Okay, 5 is everywhere. Basically, the multiples of 3. Multiples of 3 is the cranial nerves. Medial, 3. 4 3s are 12. 3 2s are 6. 3 1s are 3, 3 are 6, 3 4s are 12. 4 3s are 12. Okay, so these are basically factors of each other. Factors of each other. Okay, so yeah, I think okay. Now this. Okay, so midbrain, lateral midbrain syndrome, penetrating branches of these two, obviously pica and SCA. Okay, lateral pontine. Now lateral pontine was what? Obviously laterally we had the ICA. Okay, because ICA was a branch of basilar artery, so lateral pontine syndrome. Okay, and lateral medullary syndrome is what? Okay, ICA was lateral pontine syndrome, and lateral medullary syndrome is going to be pica because it is a branch. Okay, so lateral medullary syndrome is pica. Okay, then medial medullary syndrome is what? ASA or vertebral artery. Okay, so at least these four midbrain syndromes are done. Okay, like genuinely done, kind of. Okay, so next we can have is the nuclei. Okay, so the nuclei here, this is just simply that which cranial nerve nuclei is present where. Okay, now first we'll think of the, like, just try imagining that structure, that whole brainstem nuclei structure that we saw. Okay, so third and fourth is obviously at the level of the midbrain. Third is superior colliculus, fourth is inferior colliculus. Next we had pons. Okay, so fourth is done. Fifth was the trigeminal ganglion. So that is, these are all at the level of the pons. That is fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. Okay, so that's how we were having at the level of the pons. You have these nucleus, and that's why sixth, seventh, and eighth was in the pontomedullary junction. Sixth, seventh, and eighth medial to lateral. Okay, sixth, seventh, eighth. We saw how fat that eighth also had two branches, vestibular and cochlear. Okay, and there was fifth also, and fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Fifth was a bit top. Okay, but sixth, seventh, eighth was going at the pontomedullary junction. Okay, next we have medulla. So medulla is um, posterior, okay, posterolateral part. Forget 12. Posterolateral part, whatever we had was the medulla. Okay, so we had the pyramids and we had the olives, right? So posterolateral part was the medulla. There in the posterolateral part we had the 9th, 10th, 11th nerve. So 9th, 10th, 9th and 10th nerve. Okay, so here it is 9th and 10th nerve only. Okay, and yeah, since 11th is called only spinal accessory, so we'll call it spinal accessory only and we'll say spinal cord. Okay, so that is done. And this side at the level of the medulla we had all this 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, we had all of it, but 12 was between the olives and the pyramids. Okay, it was anterior, and 9, 10, 11 was posterior. Out of that, 9, 10, 12 is medulla. Okay, so that is done. This is what is, this is what I was talking about. Okay, so posterior lateral sulcus, you basically have nucleus ambiguous that side. Alright, so you have fibers from this 9, 9, 10, 11. 9, 10, 11, these are that side. And anterolateral sulcus was 12. Okay, just remember nucleus ambiguous, that is like, 10th nerve nucleus, so that's why you have a lot of this thing. Okay. Obviously, this is an easy thing that this initially only we did. Okay, what are the lateral? Alar plate. Okay, SAD was the mnemonic. Okay, sensory alar plate, dorsal. SAD was the mnemonic. So that basically when it opens up, that's why you have all the sensory nuclei on lateral side. Okay, so that is like sensory structures or anything to do with sensories on the lateral side. Okay, next is these vagal nuclei. Vagal nuclei not really that important, but then this has come, this is the only one that had come in this thing, it had come in NEET. So we just go through it quickly, but correlate this, wait. Okay, so two things here. First is the nucleus tractus solitarius. That is now nucleus tractus solitarius. That is going to be NTS, your this thing. So here, this obviously it coordinates a lot of things for vomiting. So first we come to the inputs. Okay, so when we refer to the inputs, then it's basically okay. So nucleus tractus visceral sensory information. Okay, basically this is something to do with the vagus. So visceral chemosensor. Okay, visceral chemosensor. So there's coordinates the sensory input for vomiting, and it receives fibers from glossopharyngeal nerve because taste. It also receives fibers from the facial nerve because in case of this thing, like facial nerve, the receiving nerves is facial nerve and glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay, facial nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, and vagus nerve. Okay, and then it coordinates everything. So what are the cranial nerves that are related to it? Everything to do with the tongue. Okay, so this has everything to do with the tongue. Seventh nerve, tenth nerve, seventh nerve, ninth nerve, and tenth nerve. Okay, but don't count in trigeminal in this. Okay, facial is anterior 2/3. That glossopharyngeal is posterior 1/3 of the tongue, and finally tenth is the vagus. Vagus is like far posterior. Okay, so gut distension, vomiting, ANS, and all this. Okay, so taste sensation, this is basically the somatic visceral afferent, and ANS say you get the general visceral afferent in nucleus tractus solitarius, and chemosensors, epiglottis, taste buds. Next is nucleus ambiguous. Okay, so nucleus ambiguous, what happens is here, just a second. So yeah, suppose if we like had to this thing. Okay, nucleus ambiguous. Okay, so nucleus ambiguous is simply that there was glossopharyngeal nerve was one of the inputs. Basically, the everything to do with posterolateral sulcus. So this is what I've this thing like this was all the visceral chemosensors of nucleus tractus solitarius, the chemosensors of the tongue, motor structures of the tongue to do the posterolateral sulcus and after means posterolateral sulcus as in posterolateral sulcus of the that medulla. Okay, the medulla means behind means hypoglossal nerve was present in between olives and pyramids, and behind the olives what did we have? Behind the olives there was the ninth nerve, 10th nerve, 11th nerve. Okay, so everything that comes from the fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch. Okay, fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch, pharynx, larynx, upper esophagus, swallowing, palate elevation, and so on. Again, which was the only all all muscles of the tongue is supplied by hypoglossal nerve except palatoglossus, that is supplied by the 10th nerve. Okay, so 10th nerve, that's why palate elevation. Okay, so motor innervation, we have the so therefore 9 10 11 everything from the posterolateral sulcus, and then after that you have coordinate the swallowing and all of that. That is nucleus ambiguous. Okay, see, for these even if you don't do the picturized images, that is fine. Dorsal motor nucleus, it's going to be the vagus. Okay, so vagus ka dorsal motor nucleus, that is mainly for autonomic. Okay, so autonomic system, that is going to be dorsal motor from the GIT, heart, lungs, and parasympathetic. So dorsal motor nucleus is parasympathetic, and finally somatosensory, another nucleus, final nucleus of the trigeminal, that is outer ear canal, pinna and dura. Alright, so I think more or less this is okay. Next, so ambiguous was everything motor. Ambiguous was everything motor, while this one, while while tractus solitarius was everything to do with. Tractus solitarius had everything to do with the baroreceptors and vomiting and stuff. Okay, so let's go to the next this thing. Okay, so cranial nerve foramen. Okay, Okay, so the post lunch session will be on cranial nerve foramen. Now, whatever little time I'm just going to utilize each and every second to just keep on narrating and keep on doing active recall of all these pages. So, yeah, and post lunch, we'll do this cranial